So we're going to do a quick, well, relatively quick session here now on just like Ask the Java Champions. So everybody knows Venkat, and he's a Java champion if you didn't know that. My name is Pratik Patel. I'm also a Java champion. We have a third Java champion in Atlanta, but he's not here. Do we have any more in Atlanta besides Vince and me?
Is Gunnar in Atlanta still?
He lives in Hawaii now. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've excommunicated. I'm just kidding. we hate him because he moved to Hawaii.
Got you.
So what I'd like to do is open up the floor and ask any question, right? Like, what's Venkat's favorite type of shoes? I don't know. Whatever you want. Okay.
No shoes.
No shoes. Yeah. No shoes. Hashtag no shoes. Hang on, Chris. I'm coming.
So what do you guys think about Amazon announcing their own JDK?
Venkat, I'll let you answer that first, and then I'll take the next 30 minutes answering that question.
I think it's so here's my take on it. The first is Amazon was not known for open source. For them to do this is amazing. And what that really tells us is that now they have people working there who are putting the right kind of stuff into where they need to go. That's my first excitement. But having said that, hey, more players are better. I think they're going to do the right things to improve, what's available. Clearly, there is going to be benefit if you're on the Amazon cloud. But overall, my excitement really is that big, huge company is going to start contributing to open source, and that's going to be in the right direction.
No fear of the write once, run everywhere model going away?
I don't think that's going to happen in that sense. No, I don't have that fear. Yeah.
All right. So here's my take on it. And for those of you that don't know, Amazon doesn't actually contribute much to open source, even though they're such a huge company. So this is kind of interesting that they've now decided to contribute into the open source world. I don't know if they're going to. Okay, so there are a couple of nuances to this. Yes, they will make a freely available JDK for anybody to use. But there's a little bit of a question mark right now as to whether or not Amazon will contribute fixes back to the main open source OpenJDK code base. Okay, so that's something very interesting to think about. They may have optimizations and other things in there that are just in Corretto, and it may not ever make it back to OpenJDK, which in my opinion is a bad thing. The second thing is that there are other open source implementations of the JVM aside from the OpenJDK and the Amazon Corretto. In fact, the company that I work for, IBM, they actually have an amazing open source runtime that they open sourced about a year and a half ago into the Eclipse Foundation. So it's under EPL, 100% open source, called OpenJ9. And it is actually a really nice VM because it uses less memory and has better performance than standard hotspot and even Oracle hotspot and even Amazon Corretto. So if I had my laptop here, I would drag up and show you the slides. The reason why this is interesting for Java developers, I think, is that the way that you typically get billed when you run your Java workloads in the cloud is you get billed by two key metrics, right? How much memory are you using and how much CPU are you using, right? So if you have a whole bunch of stuff and you can use less memory and less CPU, you can get more utilization out of a server, i.e. save money. So that's why OpenJ9 is great. And again, it's 100% open source. I'm not selling anything. You can go and download it, run it for free, and not have to pay IBM anything because it's under the Eclipse Foundation. Okay? So someone please tweet that. If my boss sees that, he'll get some points in the morning. So, yes, sir.
I have a question. What's going on with Java Enterprise? Is it dead?
Do you want to answer that, or should I?
I'll let you answer it.
Okay. What's that? Okay, yeah. The question is what's going on with Java Enterprise, and is it dead? The short answer is no. There is actually Glassfish 5.1, which is the reference to implementation of Java EE8, just came out last week. And there is a smaller, slimmed-down version of Java EE called MicroProfile that is being very actively and very aggressively developed and moved forward. So if you are an EE developer, there's an on-ramp to get onto the slimmer micro-profile EE-based runtimes, and they're open source implementations like Open Liberty, and I don't know if Tommy Tribes is open or not, but there are open source implementations of that, and of course commercial implementations of that. And also, from what I've heard, sometime later this year, the Java EE 9 specification and implementation should be coming around. Well, within the next year, let's say. So Java EE is not dead. There are less people using. Actually, let's do a quick survey. How many people are actively have code written in production on Java EE and are developing on Java EE? Not, you know, you haven't just like put it into the closet and forgotten about it. How many people are still building EE apps? There's got to be at least one person. Not even the person who asked that question? Okay. So there's not a single person in here who has a deployed Java EE application.
What's in Java EE?
Well, it doesn't matter. Java EE 3 or 4 or 5.
What's that? What is in Java EE?
Okay. So the question is, what's in Java EE? Well, the EE is basically, it's a number of different specifications like JPA, JTA, et cetera, right? Java, the newer versions of Java EE also include like CDI for container dependency injection, et cetera, et cetera. So all that stuff is in Java EE. It has been for a while. So that's a little surprising that nobody in the room uses EE. How many people use, yeah?
If you're not done JPA, yes.
No, I meant like the full, you know, the full enchilada. Okay. Yeah, everyone uses JPA, right? I mean, what are we? We're not cavemen here. We still like, we don't write SQL queries, of course. So,
I think one of the ways to answer that question is, in a way, I would say things are good because Oracle doesn't want to own this anymore. So pretty much they said, you know what, take it away. So Eclipse Foundation is in charge of it. So whether it's dead or alive, really is in the hands of the community. It's no longer in the hands of Oracle. And that's kind of, you know, we can look at it as a negative, but I tend to, my optimistic mind always tells me to look at these positively, because if it's really important, the community takes it forward. One company doesn't sit there and kill it. So in that regard, I think that's really good. And so Oracle doesn't own it anymore. Oracle simply said, take it away. And so it's fully in the hands of the Eclipse Foundation at this point.
yeah, that's right. That's actually a good point. The Eclipse Foundation is the one pushing EE forward now, and it's a consortium of different companies and community members who are pushing forward with it. And one last final thing I'll say on this real quick is the reason why Spring became popular was because of the heaviness of Java EE, right? Now, what's ironic, in my opinion, what's ironic today is that micro-profile is much slimmer and much leaner than the big thing that we have, which is Spring, which is like kind of, you know, everything comes full circle, it feels like. Spring is like the big thing, and now micro-profile, which is a EE subset, is like much faster, much smaller, et cetera, et cetera. It's like kind of coming back, or that's why people are interested in it, is because it is much smaller than Spring and requires less resources. So anyways, all right, next question. Anybody? Okay. Let somebody else ask a question. We'll come back to you in a minute. I think there's a question over here. Yeah.
Can you suggest one OpenJDK? I think that we are moving from Oracle JDK to OpenJDK.
Yeah, so the question was, can you suggest a JDK since, right, so let me just take a step back and answer the prelude to that question, which is, why would you even care about moving off of the Oracle JDK? And the reason for that is because on January 19th of this year, Oracle sunset free commercial support for JDK 8. So if you're running JDK 8 in production, and it's specifically Oracle's JVM or Oracle's Hotspot VM, you now have to go buy a commercial license for it. And if you don't, you're out of compliance, and Oracle will basically make you pay, I guess, right? I don't know. I don't know if they've enforced it or not, but and this is not coming from me directly. If you go to the JDK webpage, they very clearly state what the terms of the support is on Oracle's website, okay? So we talked about Corretto. That would be a good substitution. You can just use the standard open source OpenJDK runtime if you want, okay? It doesn't have some of the low-level performance enhancements that Oracle's specific version has. And then, of course, I just talked a few minutes ago about OpenJ9 from the Eclipse Foundation. And all three of those VMs, or all four of them, I should say, should have 100% compatibility with your code base. So you can literally drop your code on top of any one of those four JDKs or JVMs, and it should just work. Okay, there may be some edge cases, but probably not. You have to just try, unless you're using some very specific cryptography libraries, and because of export compliance rules and blah, 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 they may not be there, but you can usually sidecar those in anyways into the JVM. But those are four good ones to look at, and three of those four are open source. Okay?
I think the one of the questions to really ask is not whether it's OpenJDK or not. The question is whom are you going to pay for support? So there are three choices here, right? One is you can pay Oracle, or you can pay another company, or you can do it yourself.
IBM.
or you can do it yourself. So it's essentially that's what it's coming down to. And this is another thing that if you really look back at what Oracle did, they did a terrible job of announcing this. There was a huge hue and cry. I was giving a talk a few months ago. I think it was in, somewhere in the Midwest, and literally one gentleman in the room raised his hand in the middle of my talk and said, "Let me understand this." He said, "If we use Oracle JDK, here is how much we're going to pay." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Why are you wasting my time? This is peanuts for us because we're a big bank," he said. I said, "That's exactly the point. It's really not that big a deal if you're a commercial business making money. If you're not a commercial business making money, go do something else." So the point really is they did absolutely a terrible job in how they brought this to the market. And when I went back and wasted a few hours reading through the contract, I was actually pretty surprised because it was not really that big a deal. You're going to pay somebody, right? It's a question of deciding whom you're going to pay. Whether you want to pay IBM, whether you want to pay Amazon, whether you want to pay Oracle, or do it yourself. That's going to be an expense on your part as well. So you got to pick and choose. For development purposes, you can use any of them. For production, when you put it in production, you cannot put Oracle's JDK in production, JVM in production, because you don't have the license for it. If you put the open JDK in there, you're not paying anyone yet. But the minute you have a problem, you got to pay somebody else.
Okay. More questions? Comments? Time for beer? Okay. No, it's fine.
So there are a bunch of JVM languages today. So which one, in your opinion, worth time investment?
Can you repeat the question for me?
The question is there a lot of languages that run on the JVM? Which one is, in your opinion, the developers, is it, right, what is worth investing developer time into learning? Sorry.
Oh, that's hard.
So this is actually, for me, this is the easy answer. In terms of learning the language itself, I would say all of them, right? Well, which one you pick after that and dive deep into, that depends on you, basically, and what you're building.
Yeah. So the reason I say it's hard is there are some really good languages out there. Where it really comes down to is, what are you really looking for? If you are looking for a language which is statically typed, you want to look at Scala, Kotlin, for example. If you're looking for languages which are dynamically typed, you're looking at Clojure on one spectrum and Groovy on the other. If you're looking for meta-programming, you're looking at Groovy. So it's really a hard question to answer. And I would go with his answer, right? Go for all of them. That's what I do. I program in 15 different languages, maybe 6 or 7 on the JVM.
Does that include Haskell?
It includes Haskell as well. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if we can be friends anymore then.
So I mean, I love these languages because they are very different from each other. I love these languages because they help me to think about something very different. I started looking at Kotlin more recently The reason was that Kotlin is one of the few languages that truly gives you multi-platform development. What that means is you can compile Kotlin to Java bytecode, you can compile Kotlin to JavaScript, you can run Kotlin native, you can run Kotlin on Android, iOS, you can run Kotlin within WebAssembly, even though the support for these are in various degree. So from that point of view, Kotlin is very intriguing. People are excited about Kotlin for all these reasons. There are people looking at Kotlin because of Android. There are people looking at Kotlin because of Spring. Spring is heavily investing into Kotlin. They have a project called Spring Kotlin Kofu, which is providing very high performance startup time for Kotlin using Kotlin configurations. I'm a big fan of using Gradle, and I've done extensive Groovy in the past. I'm migrating a lot of my Gradle to Gradle Kotlin DSL. So Gradle is moving heavily into Kotlin as well. So a lot of people are excited about Kotlin, and I'm certainly excited about Kotlin as well. But that's just one language among a lot of different languages. So the reason I say it's hard to answer is because I don't want to express my bias towards one language. There are some really good capable languages out there, and we got to pick based on what our demands are, needs are. From the learning point of view, I would say you want to really diversify your knowledge portfolio because it does allow you to think very differently when you do that.
So here's a kind of a tangential or somewhat tangential question to that. How many people are, let's start with Java 5. How many people are actively writing Java 5 code today? It's okay, you can raise your hand. I'll buy you an extra beer at the bar if you are. Java 6. Java 7. Okay, couple people in the back. Java 8. Okay, that's probably everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, Java 9.
Wow.
Just 2 people on Java 9. Do I need to go to 11 or 12? Java 10? 11? Nobody? Okay, so a few people on 11. That's awesome. More people on 11 than 9. That's interesting.
I was going to say, that's not surprising for me because it was surprising for me in the beginning, but I'm working with clients who are pretty much leapfrogging from 8 to 11. They completely bypassed the journey through 9 and said, we're going to go, might as well go, yeah.
You mean 12, right? Since 12 is coming out
Yeah,
next month.
Yeah,
Okay.
but right now they are already on 11 from 8.
So if you don't know, the release cadence for Java has changed and the numbering system has changed. So correct me if I'm wrong. Every 6 months in March and September, there will be a new version of Java. So 3 years from now, we'll be on Java 300. No, I'm just kidding. Right. But the release cadence is changing. Part of the reason for that was to introduce new features faster and to get a more kind of agile, whatever you want to call it, feedback loop into the Java language spec team to push out Java faster, right? So Java 12 is around the corner. And going back to the person's question, like, hey, Kotlin, or, should I look at Scala or Groovy or whatever? It may just be worthwhile just to look at just going from Java 8 to Java 11. Because there's a lot of stuff 12. There's a lot of stuff in 12 that you don't necessarily have like in the old, like Venkat just talked about var, which really helps, in my opinion, when you do comprehensions around lambdas, right? So it just makes it much nicer to write. And in fact, it looks a lot like Kotlin does when you work with lambdas or functions in Kotlin, for example. So a lot of the good stuff is there, not quite to the level of Kotlin, for example. And of course, Groovy and Scala have their own feature sets inside of it, right? Very extensive at that. So, but I mean, just making a leap to Java 11 is a leap forward, in my opinion. So,
and to add to that point, I'm really excited about what's coming even more in the distant future, distant as in not in the next 6 months. But the Project Loom, fibers and continuations, I think there's going to be some really awesome features. You can use coroutines in Kotlin today, but eventually in Java we're going to have some really nice features as well.
Is coroutines and Loom are coming in? They're not coming in 12, obviously. Are they coming in 13? Have they indicated approximately when that's coming?
I have not kept up
Okay.
with the specific release.
Yeah, the Lumen is not in its early stage. I would say Lumen is in probably mid-stage development right now. It's
yeah,
quite
been
far
going
along.
for about 7-8 years now.
Yeah, so I would expect it, if I had to guess, probably drop in 13 or Java 14. And Java 14, as you know, based on what I just told you, is only a year away. So
And pattern matching is going to come in stages, 3 different stages into Java as well, starting with 12. So some really exciting things happening there.
all right, I think we'll take one more question before departing for the bar. Yes. Oh, good. I'd have to run all the way to the back of the room.
Hey, other than just trying features in non-LTS Java releases, any other reasons not using LTS Java? Because you said Java 12, right? And I don't even see a point trying it because I want to go from 8 to 11 and stick there.
So one of the reasons why you really want to do that is to reduce your cost in the long run. If you stay on 11 and 12, 13, and 14 comes out, you are definitely going to miss out on the features they have. And when it comes to integrating 3 years from now, it's going to be more expensive for you. Whereas if you keep up to date with the versions, then you are amortizing that cost of keeping up with it. So it really comes down to economics. One of the things that I've noticed is organizations that have a fairly good amount of automated testing have no issues keeping up. Organizations that have a lot of manual testing are really the ones that are going to suffer the most because it's expensive to test manually. So it really comes down to how you're able to economically deal with it. That's what it really comes down to.
Okay. Well, let's. We're going to head over to the Royal Oak Pub, which again, go down the stairs, make a left, and it's before the movie theater there. But let's thank you all for coming on this rainy evening. But let's give Venkat one last round of applause for coming over. Thank you.